welcome back to my channel. Excuse me. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing my book wrap-up from April, and I'm really excited. I didn't actually think I read as many books as I did in April. It was kind of a slower month. We did have spring break, but I definitely did a lot more like decompressing than active reading or even crocheting for my shop. So I'm impressed with myself, I'm not gonna lie. Alright. If you follow along on my Goodreads, you would have seen these updates. I'll be going based off my Goodreads in the order that I read my books throughout the month. So let's just get right into it. The first book I read this month was The Girl from the Sea by Knox, Ostertag. This is a graphic novel. I bought it for my students from Scholastic, and then was realizing that I should just read it over for context, make sure that it's like appropriate for my 4th through 6th grade class, and it's not like intended as a YA book, and it is more of a middle grade. So I really loved it. I put it on the shelf, and as soon as it was on the shelf, my students started reading it, and they really like it. They've been really interested in the diversifying that I'm trying to do to our library. I adopted the classroom from another teacher, and the books that were in there were mostly classics and a lot of just outdated texts. What I was finding was like just wording we don't use anymore, context that was just like is not what I consider now to be inappropriate. So I'm trying to spice up our library, so whenever we have extra points on Scholastic, I try to get some new books, especially ones with LGBTQ+ characters, and just showing like different family situations, different relationship situations, especially for my 4th, 5th, 6th grade students. They can understand a bit more, so I can expand like what books our library has. So that's my goal, and this was a great book to add. Sorry for that long spiel about it. Yes, we loved it. Moving on. The next book I read this month was Granny's Got a Gun by Harper Lin. This was a really quick audiobook listen. I think it was like 3 hours maybe, but it was really cute. I really enjoyed the action more than I thought I would. I really enjoyed the commentary as well, because it was narrated by an older woman, so it just really gives you that granny kind of feel, and she goes back and forth a lot between like what she used to do when she was part of the CIA, I believe it was, and what like she is capable of doing now, because she's still the same person. She remembers her moves, but her body is older, right? So like it would be like, oh yep, she like did a roundhouse kick, but oh, now her hip, right? Like, so they really played into it. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, she still got all her moves. Like, no, she is older. She does not have all her moves that she used to without pain afterwards. So definitely a really cute book. The next one I read this month, finally, I finished Carball, and I loved it. Okay, so I really started this book like forever ago. I mean, it was like February. And I was like, ugh, I don't love it, I don't think. And realizing it was just a slow build. Because, yeah, I love it. As soon as I got to the end of it, I was like, okay, where's the next book? I need to read it like now. So I will definitely be picking up the second book. I listened to that also on audiobook. It was really great. I really enjoyed it, and so I think I'll really enjoy the second book on audiobook as well, probably. So I surprised myself with that one, I'm not gonna lie. The next book that I finished this month was this collection of classic English love poems by Emile Capouya. I started this in February around Valentine's Day. I picked it up at a bookstore in Great Barrington, and I really love them. I definitely want to reread especially my favorite ones and kind of annotate, but I do love poetry and I really want to get more poetry books. When I went to the Strand in the last video, you would have seen I was looking for poetry books, but they didn't have the ones that I was looking for, which I was kind of surprised because they're popular poetry books, but it's fine. I digress. That's definitely something I want to get more into, is poetry. Especially in the spring and summer. I don't know why I associate poetry with spring and summer, but I do. The next book that I finished was back to the Kindle, New Kid by Jerry Craft. I really appreciated this graphic novel. It was lent. Another teacher let me borrow it to see if it was something that I would want for the classroom or to use next year in my novel study group. And I definitely think I will. I really loved all the components of this book. It revolves around a boy going to a new school where he's from the hood, they call it. I mean, like, he's from like a rougher part of the city, and the school is just outside the city. And kind of him figuring out how to balance his friendships, his at-home friendships and his new in-school friendships, and finding his place in that school. Sorry. And finding his place in that school, dealing with teachers' kind of biases and, you know, bullies and things like that. So both school life and at home life and friendships, and it was just really good. I really enjoyed it. I'm interested in doing a graphic novel for my novel study group next year, mostly because it seems that a lot of my students are really interested in it, and I don't think they understand like everything that goes into a graphic novel, right? Like why things are the way they are in a graphic novel. So I think that would be really fun to explore with them, so they see like, oh, it's not like just drawings because it's more fun to read that way, right? They're for a purpose. The author is trying to tell you something. The illustrations are for a reason. So I'm excited to dive into that next year with probably I'll do this book with my 6th graders next year. The next book I read, another graphic novel, is Laura Dean Keeps Breaking Up With Me by Mariko, Tamaki, and Rosemary Valero-O'Connell. And I had no idea what I was getting into with this book. I'm not gonna lie. I signed up for my new library right here where I moved, and I was browsing the YA section and saw this one, and I was like, oh, that's a cute cover. And like I briefly like flipped through the pages, and I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's see what it's about, right? Loved this book. Deals with these 2 girls, Laura Dean, and why can't I remember her name? Oh, Freddie is the other girl. So Freddie and Laura Dean, and Freddie really loves Laura Dean, and Laura Dean just keeps breaking up with her and doing things to hurt her, and it's about figuring out a toxic relationship and figuring out what it is that you really need, even if it's away from the person that you think you love or you thought you loved. It's set in high school, and it's got supportive friends, and I really liked this. It was a quick read. It was really good. I actually need to return it to the library like yesterday, but I don't mind paying library fines. I love supporting my local libraries. So yes, I definitely recommend if you are either in a graphic novel phase right now, or you're YA or whatever. Was definitely a really good book. The next book I read was Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. She also did the Heartstopper series, which I have yet to watch on Netflix, but I'm so excited too. But this book, I believe it was her debut novel, actually. So it's not a graphic novel, it is a written novel. And I honestly did not know what to expect again from it. It is YA, it's about students in high school and figuring out like domestic violence and just the overall feeling of loneliness and isolation that kids can feel, and realizing that you do have friends and people who support you, and figuring out also as one of those friends how to express yourself to the person and how to help them in the best way possible. It was a really sweet book. I really loved it. I listened to it on audiobook, which I loved because there's a lot of different voices going on in this book, in real life and also on the like kind of radio talk show, not talk show, radio like podcast that they do in the book. So it gave me a great sense of that and what that was supposed to be like, which I really appreciated. So I would recommend listening to it on audiobook if you are interested in this book. The next book I read was Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey, and this was actually my first Tessa Bailey book. I don't know what has taken me so long to read her books, but it was so good. Okay? Do you understand? It was so good. I really loved this book. I loved the characters. I fell for them so quick. I loved like the storyline. I loved the plot. I loved him supporting her. I loved her supporting him. I just loved everything about it, okay? So that's all I have to say about that. I will be falling into my Tessa Bailey rabbit hole starting now. Good luck. You won't see me again until I've read all her books, okay? So if that doesn't tell you how I feel about this book, I don't know what will, but so good, so good. Congrats, Tessa Bailey. The last book I read this month was My Body by Emile Ratajkowski, and wow, like talk about a tearjerker. Again, I listened to it on an audiobook. She narrates it, which was so good. There was one part where you could hear it in her voice, her voice cracking because she was getting emotional. Oh my god, like what a roller coaster I went on. I think it is technically a collection of essays that she's written, and it really was really powerful. I felt I loved her writing. I mean, I know I didn't read her writing, but I heard her writing, but I loved how it was written, and I love how she narrated it. I really felt so much emotion while listening to this book. Like, I don't really know how to properly convey everything to you, how like what I felt while reading this book, but like I just really felt it deep in my being. So if you are planning to read this book, just know it may be an emotional roller coaster for you, as it was for me. But I loved it. Loved every second of my emotional roller coaster that I went on with her. So thank you for that, Emily. That brings us to the end of this video. So I read 9 books in April. I pretty much loved all of them. I'm excited to show you my May TBR list. May is my birthday month, so I do plan to treat myself to a few things here and there. I definitely have my book of the month box on the way for May, and I think there might be something else on the way for May, but you'll see all that when it comes in. So in the meantime, thank you for joining me. I hope you stick around. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, and I will see you in the next video, which will be my May TBR list, because we're in May. Hey! Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.